This is Sabrina. Nice to see you guys. And thank you for being here for another amazing episode of the Powerful and Passionate Healthcare Professionals podcast. And today we have another exciting speaker here with us. He is Mr. Joe FrankieIII. He's an author, a speaker, has been an expert in helping the executives to become the expert using LinkedIn to represent yourself. So can't wait to hear more from Joe. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, Sabrina. Glad to finally meet you here. You know, Sabrina's got a lot of great people going through, and I think we almost talked about 8 or 9 months ago, but it's good to be here. So anyway, I'm Joe FrankieIII. I grew up in South Texas. A month after I graduated from high school, I was at the U.S. Military Academy, and 34 years later, I came out of the Army and went into the private sector. In the private sector, I did project management, put various deals together, help found a knowledge transfer company, how to bank operational knowledge of subject matter experts using a YouTube-like platform, got in the executive search business, and that is where I saw that a lot of people just are under merchandised. In other words, you know, I could see that they bring so much to the table, but it wasn't out there on their LinkedIn profile, and consequently it didn't make it into their resume. And so I noticed the same thing with military people, and I'd worked with them for years and years after I got out of the military. And so I started helping people do touch-ups or improvements on their LinkedIn profile. And then so the word got out, and I started getting phone calls at night and early in the morning and that kind of stuff. And my wife finally said, either go back to your day job or find a way to make that a business. And she said, by the way, I'm listening to you talk to these people, and you sound like you're talking to officers and non-commissioned officers that you did your entire career in the military. Just help them get from where they are to the next point, you know. And so that's what I do most. I say the bulk of my work is I help 40-plus-year-olds figure out what's next.
Which is amazing because people from military, they devoted so much of their life, and some of them, even one of my best friends' husband is in the Navy, and he's looking for transition into become a commercial pilot, but due to COVID, then that need to put on a little hold, right? And then people start thinking about what else it could be. And one of my other friends who's had been living abroad for many years and now is coming back to the US is the same thing, right? Like, how do you step into another phase of the world, no longer in that structured military life? And then really the military life is very similar to, I would say, in healthcare in general, where
Right.
all our listeners in this platform, is when you get to a certain level of leadership, certain level of roles, and especially for those who are owning their own private practice in dental, chiro, medical, and you have a certain responsibility, and people have to put themselves into a regimen. Otherwise, we get so disrupted and then can't really get anywhere, right? So as we are thinking about who we are to the outside world, LinkedIn is a great way to optimize that and to put ourselves into a place to really show people it doesn't matter if I'm in a place of transitioning or I'm someone who has a great knowledge to share. I want people to look at my profile, just be so clear at it. And so how did you start figuring out what's the best practice for those people?
So it depends on where you are in life, okay, and where you want to go. So I've ended up coaching and assisting 15-year-olds that are trying to get into extremely competitive high school, and they used a LinkedIn profile to take all the information that you would normally put on page after page after page of the forms you give you. Why not embed it in a LinkedIn profile, once for a number of things that are going to be used. Secondly, it's a good thing to get in the habit early, because that is going to be at least the platform of choice for the foreseeable future, because it's owned by Microsoft. It'll never be short any money to bring on a new idea.
Right, exactly. And of course, many people who are listening to this are not in the beginning phase as they're building up, like the high schoolers, right? And there could be a few that are in transition of their career. They graduated or they've been working for a few years and they're ready for the next big leap, right? The next role, next jump. So how can these people, what are the things that they should be putting into their profile?
Okay, so I always ask somebody before we start, I say, look, where are you now? Can you define that? And almost anybody can say, this is where I'm at right now. And then you ask them, where do you want to go? I mean, define the end state. What do you want to do? And so if they can define the end state, then there's a way to build a LinkedIn bridge to get them from where they're at to where they want to go. And so it requires some engineering. And for the most part, I'm just kind of a LinkedIn architect. They have to engineer, because if I was going to help you, there's nobody that knows more about Sabrina than Sabrina. It's all about getting what Sabrina brings to the table that's important, associated with what she wants to achieve, right? And that could go either way. So I have people that call and say, hey, Joe, I'm out of work. I'm looking to get, I got to get employed. Okay. There's people that are in work, right? They don't like what they're at. They know they want to do something else. And, they just want another opportunity. Some people want to change sectors. So I'm working with a lot of engineers in the oil and gas industry that want to go into aeronautical and mechanical, just because of the nature of the industry and what it's going through right now. Some people are, hey, Joe, I've got this entrepreneur side and I want to start, ramping up, what I'm doing about that. Some people want to get promoted in their own company, right? So one of the ways to do that is make sure, you can articulate what you bring to the table. In the end of things, if you can't measure your production, right? Because we're all great gals and we're great guys, but you have to be able to qualitatively and quantitatively say, okay, what did you do for, your team? What did you do in your particular section? What are you doing? I think one of the things my son has always was very thankful for is I forced him when he first got, employed. I said, you're going to give me a briefing once a week, kind of like a 3x5 card. What are the three things you learn? What are the three things you want to learn? And what improvement, how did you save money, make money, and he thought, oh, this is onerous. What am I going to do? And so when he had his first review session, what happened was, the boss says, hey, I haven't had anybody that come in here and, organize and tell me what you want to learn and all of that kind of stuff. And they were really sensitive to, helping him achieve all that stuff. So,
right. That's such a great point. Is if we already be so clear on the aim that we have, then it's easier for a mentor, a guide, a boss to help you get to that end point. And if we don't really know what is that thing that we wanted, then yes, we're going to be a little perfect machine, just cranking up the same thing over and over again. And then you wonder, how come my life feels stuck? How come I'm not getting anywhere? Because you haven't even know where you wanted to go yet. So great point. For people who are wanting to get promotion, what are the things that you did so well that already highlight your ability to get to the next phase and already know what the next role required of you? Absolutely. So you reverse engineer that for your profile. When people land on your profile, you already know. Versus the entrepreneur, as what Joe's saying, that could be you just need to get your position right. Like, why are people needed to attracted to your business, your goal, your product, whether it's a new healthcare product that you developed as a clinician, or you just have a practice that you need so loving to serve a certain group of people. But why that group of people? What's the big result you're giving that? If that's not clear, then we just seem like another practitioner next door. It's no special, right? Like we need to show our individuality as we continue move forward. And then with that 3 question, that's great. I do that a lot with my client too, which I even built a 100,000K brief. And that really means everyone's week should worth that much, right? We are worth so much more than we think we are. But how do you get there? You have to ask yourself some of the tough questions and block out the things that's absolutely new no to you, and feel good about when you say no.
Right. It's all about choice, right? And it's knowing what to choose and what to focus on. So really, when you build yourself a really good profile, what you're doing is you're building your brand. You're building the brand of Sabrina. You're building the brand of Sabrina's practice. You're building the brand of Sabrina's office. All of that adds together. And so that's why I think, really working on your LinkedIn profile, understand how how LinkedIn works, allows you to build a good foundation. If you have a good foundation, you can build it as vertically as you want it. But, the foundation is important.
Exactly, to have that solid foundation. Would you like, so for me, many linking experts that had on here has talked about getting the right banner, getting the right statement under your name, not just all your 10,000 title, right? Because again, if another person have the same title, so what, right? Putting that as your problem solving statement and make sure, and your about me session, talk as you are talking to another patient, you not using a third person perspective, right? Adding extra links in. So what else do you see as let's just say for healthcare professional who are rising up as leaders, what are some things that they can do not only to optimize their profile, but able to really show as their very unique individual?
Well, for example, let's just take the normal thing that you see probably, in your practice. Okay, here's Sabrina, and here's a list of what she knows, what she did. Here's where she went to school. Here's her board certifications, all of that kind of stuff. What LinkedIn gives you the ability to do is to sell the emotional side of you. Okay, so what I just described was the IQ side of Sabrina, right? And so if we look at the difference between a resume and a LinkedIn profile, uh, a resume is really a black and white photo. It's two dimensional, you know. And what a LinkedIn profile allows you to do, it's an oil portrait. And so when you do an oil portrait, it can be realistic, it can be romantic, it can be Baroque. So LinkedIn has all of these abilities for you to merchandise and say emotionally what you bring to the table. What is Sabrina's hot rock as far as volunteering? I could tell that on your profile, then one of the hot rocks would be, hey, this podcast. I mean, you can see that you like doing it. You're charged up, you're ready to go, and those kind of things. So the resume doesn't allow you to talk about what you volunteer at. It doesn't give you the ability to say, hey, when I went to college, I worked my way through college. And oh, by the way, took these key instructions under Professor so and so and so and so. So you're able to tell story after story, little stories, and then, even bigger stories to support what's important to you. So LinkedIn's kind of like the Wall Street Journal. Most people use LinkedIn like the above the fold of the front page of the Wall Street Journal. It's just kind of list. I'm here. this is what I do and all that kind of stuff. And that's not bad. I mean, it's just that there's so much more power out there. So what? How does the Wall Street Journal work? It says, okay, here's what Sabrina is doing today. If you want to know more, go to page 9. You know, here's what Joe's doing today. Hey, if you want to know more, go to page 11. So LinkedIn has these entire back pages where you can sow story after story about what you bring to the table. And they're really in the accomplishment section. In the accomplishment section, you have organizations. You know, are you a torch bearer for your organization or are you a candle bearer? You know, and I'm a candle bearer for some organizations and I'm a torch bearer for others. But my point is, you can articulate, those organizations and which are more important to you or what have you. You've also got publications. If you're in the medical community, you know, you're writing articles, you're commenting, all these kind of things. So you can describe the publication, who worked on it with you, why it's important. You got up to 2,000 characters. And then projects is what I really call the story section. You know, that's where you amplify the things that are important to you in your experience section and just tell a 2,000 character story about who, what, when, where, and why, and what the significance was. You know, you made money, you saved this person, you know, whatever that story is. In the end, if you want to have LinkedIn work for you, realize that you're in a content war with your peers. You're in a noun and verb war with your peers. And so the person that has the most nouns and verbs are properly articulated into sentences into paragraph stories, they kind of go to the front of the bus. And if you just kind of want to leave your above the fold LinkedIn profile where you just got some stuff on there, then understand that you're going to the back of the bus. And
do you see? Yeah. So do you see that's the reason when people create more contents, more posts, more articles, that's when their stuff are being spread to even more of their follower, even though they have a big follower, if they don't produce enough content, every time they send out or post something, not that many people got viewed.
That's true. And if I knew how the algorithm worked today, I'd be in the Bahamas. You know, so the algorithm morphs to a great extent, you know, depending on what they're trying to kind of push, you know, pull, those kind of things. But in the end, if somebody comes to your LinkedIn profile, you know, basically as a professional, you want to feed them everything that they possibly might want to know about you so that they don't go someplace else. Okay. Because so I'm in the executive search business, right? So, you know, I'll put 10 words up at the top of LinkedIn and I'll get the first 400 and I'll work the 40 down to about 7. I'll run that search again by varying the things and I'll go through that iteration. But let's face it, if you don't come up in the top 40 of those 400, you know, I mean, you're there, but are you relevant?
Exactly. That's the thing is by when we search for these keywords and these titles, are you going to be the one who's coming up? If you're not, then even within your connections, usually you only see 100 people at a time. So we do need to refine our search, even could be down to the cities. And I'm in Houston, so I'm connected to thousands of people in Houston. So if I needed to find someone in that specific requirement that I want to connect to, I might have to really go put in more things in my search engine and not just really miss out on a lot of people that could be amazing to have a conversation with. And at the end of the day, as what Joe is saying is, number one step is your profile. Number 2 is producing content. And we also know a lot of people don't really like to write and create things. But if you're a good speaker like me, I do lives. And now I have copywriters. I have a team to turn these into blogs, into little teasers. Right? You can leverage other people's resources by just talk to people, see who can help you find these assistants virtually that really cut down the cost. So you can be in the next level of leader as how you are supposed to represent yourself, because we don't want it to be the best kept secret.
I have that conversation with some people and say, well, I don't want it out there. And I said, well, I mean, that's a personal choice. So I guess, are you going to take it to the grave with you? I mean, do you want it to work for you, or do you want it to be used kind of when we're saying the last words over you?
Exactly. It's not about waiting for that perfect stage of your life, waiting for the best time. Is that I'm enjoying it now, I'm seeing it now, I believe this now. Whoever is connecting to me right now will continue to walk toward me, because this world has too many people. We are not meant to know everyone, help everyone, achieve everything. We're only meant to achieve the greatest at our top potential with specific things that make us an expert, that make us someone who can produce this impact. And it's hard to be an expert in everything. And that's why we're here, right? And for all my speakers, Joe, we know that we ask the speakers to take a really quick life assessment. And Joe has great things that he pointed out. So just as we're sharing this, Joe, what did you thought about when you took the assessment?
I just thought, well, this is really interesting. It was kind of an introspective look, and I thought, well, is this worth my time? And it was, because you kind of get you think you know who you are, but the nice thing about assessments is they bring out the edges that you can't see. It's like looking at the back of your head. You need a mirror.
That's awesome. So now looking at the result, anything surprising to you? Anything that you would do differently at your life right now?
Yes, I'm going to try to be more open and try to learn more things. And I always tell people, because I end up dealing with people that, are retired that want to get back in the game. And they say, well, Joe, can you introduce me to some people? And I say, well, first you need a LinkedIn profile. And they go, what's that? And we worked through that. And I've had some pretty good luck with people getting back in the game. But what they did was they articulated what they were an expert in. This one individual was about 84 years old and he wanted back in the game, but he was an expert at solving problems with ERP systems that interface with SAP. And this one company was just bleeding money, and had that problem, but once he put this in his profile, I mean, he got contacted and, he was upset because he got a contract as opposed to, employment. And I said, hey, go over there, make them money, save them money, and all they care, the company cares about is if you're producing and bringing in over 5 times, what they're paying you, then, they're going to keep you forever.
Exactly. So that goes by even the people who are, maybe you feel like you're needed to gain some type of freedom, step away from your own practice, or stepping away from that big hospital system, right? Corporate America that you've always been. What's the next phase that you're looking at? Then you can think about, how do I reboot, right? Putting a fresh paint for myself. And then LinkedIn is the first step, because it's a professional, organized social media, instead of Facebook gets a little crazier with a lot of groups, and then the feed is also organized differently, right? I think also it's knowing where all your peoples are looking at. Maybe they are on Facebook, maybe they're all on LinkedIn, and maybe they are on Instagram, or maybe on Twitter. So knowing where these things are important. But at the end of the day, if people search your name, one of the first thing will pop up is your LinkedIn. So at least have a basic profile that look cohesive and people can read up about what you who you are and what you are really about and passionate and driving forward. So thank you so much for sharing that. I know you have we can talk about this so much more, right, about LinkedIn, and we haven't even discussed how to do better outreach with all the network that you have created, either people adding you or you reach out to other people.
Right.
And that's a whole another topic on how we can elevate ourselves, use that platform. But for people who wanted to learn more about optimizing themselves, being the better executive or the better leader, entrepreneur, how would they find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn at Joe FrankieIII. Also, my email address is joseph.frankie@gmail.com. And my website, where I've got a lot of tools and recommendations, is jfiiiassociates.com. That's JF3, but 3 is done with triple I's, associates.com.
Awesome. Amazing. Thanks everyone for joining us today. And now we know there are so many things you can be doing and you choose us. So we appreciate you. We'd love to hear your feedback. Please leave a comment at wherever you're watching this, hearing this, on iTunes or in LinkedIn or YouTube. And we would love to hear how we can continue to support you and answer your questions. Until next time.